Hi everybody, it's May 26, 2024, and I was just looking at my Facebook memories 11 years ago today, and I was taking Paul out for a walk in the little park near his group home, his large group home, and I took a picture of him which I posted on my Facebook page. And it's my favorite picture of him standing with his arm on a bridge with a happy smile on his face. He was just such a wonderful person, so easy to make happy. So I've applied for leave to appeal the decision of the Court of Appeal of British Columbia, kind of a really nasty decision. Dismissing my appeal of the appointment of my 81-year-old nun sister in Ontario as my brother's guardian, and dismissing my petition to be his guardian. The appointment of a non-resident of BC, I mean, this may seem technical. She only met him a few dozen times in the course of his life, and I cared for him 1 or 2 weekends a month for 10 years after my mother died. But I'm not perfect. There was a period of time when I was out of touch with my family after I lost my house in foreclosure, and I had a heart attack, and I was diagnosed with lupus. I stopped practicing law in 2014. So basically, I lost everything but the clothes I was wearing. And they never reached out to me, although I had the same phone all along and the same phone number. Apparently, Paul asked for me. So I was out of touch with him for a period from June of 2015 until March of 2021. And it took a lot of courage for me to reach out. I thought he had died, and they didn't tell me. The nun sister, that was her favorite trick, was if a sibling of mine died, then she would make a point of not telling me, but I always found out from extended family. She's just truly an evil person, the last person on earth that should be the guardian of any human being. But anyway, so we're at the Supreme Court of Canada, and I'm asking the court to adopt Paul's Law, which is, in the States, it's called Peter Falk's Law, which is it's a reform of adult guardianship law to make it so that even if people are appointed legal guardians, they can't cut off the contact or isolate and confine the adult, the incapable adult, from their loved ones. And that happened because Peter Falk, who was the star of the great detective series I loved, Columbo. Peter Falk was Columbo, but he had a stroke in his 70s, and his second wife wouldn't let his adult daughters visit him. So his adult daughter, Catherine Falk, started the Peter Falk Foundation, and they have enacted guardianship reform laws across the United States. They've put Peter Falk's Law in at least 22 different states. So that what I've explained before, what I found when Paul had a stroke or whatever happened to him, I don't know what happened to him, but L'Arche says it was a stroke, and he was in Burnaby General Hospital. I brought the hospital a copy of the court order that my sister had appointing her guardian, and all it said was that she was the committee of his person and of his estate. It did not say that I could not have contact with him. And I also brought 2 expert reports from 2 different board certified psychiatrist saying that I was perfectly capable of visiting my brother and having custody of him, and actually recommending that the visits take place at my home. But they wouldn't look at any of that. And one of their doctors, I just keep on thinking about him, Dr. Pham, took me in the back room in the hospital and threatened to call the police if I went on the ward. So they allowed me to visit Paul in the 10 days that he was in the hospital before he died. They allowed me to visit 3 times in the first week for 10 minutes, supervised by the nun from Ontario. So this is another reason why non-residents of BC cannot and should never be appointed guardians. She didn't show up for 2.5 days after he had the stroke. So he had the stroke on April 13th, and she couldn't get her act together to get there until April 15th. And they didn't notify me until after she was ensconced at his bedside to make it look like, oh, she'd been there all along. Evil bitch. Pardon my language. That's what she is. So I was allowed to visit him for 3 10-minute visits, and actually they were less than 10 minutes. And when I was there, she had been moved into a palliative care room, which means there was nobody there but her. And one of the workers, or the workers from L'Arche, and they let dogs visit him. They let all the workers, the workers at L'Arche, L''ARCHE, are all, they're foreign people who are just passing through Canada. They're not Canadian citizens. They speak English as a second language. The one who was the most, gave me the most trouble, has worked there off and on since the 90s. She's from the Alsace region of France. But these are all like just, strangers. They're strangers to Canada. They're not Paul's family. Anyways, I'm trying to get the law changed, as I said, so that even legally appointed guardians, and my sister was not legally appointed, I allege. The document that she relied on was fraudulent and a forgery. Even people who are legal guardians cannot isolate and confine incapable adults, which, as I said, is the law in 22 states. I just went to Mass, and I'm struggling with my faith because I prayed so hard for, to God to restore our visits, and it never happened. Paul died before it happened. And I think he was sedated to death. I'd like to see the records. I've asked the Burnaby General Hospital, and if you ever are sick, never go there. This is my second bad experience with that dump. I've asked them to preserve the records. I want to find out what she told the staff to do. I've got a feeling that she ordered them to sedate him to death. The same thing happened when my father was dying in St. John's, Newfoundland. He was almost 101 years old. And I was trying to get the money together to visit my father. And I finally had organized, it's very expensive to travel to Newfoundland. I think the ticket was like $4,000. And I'd finally organized bought the ticket, organized the money, got a bill paid from a client. And I was on my way to the airport for a visit to see my almost 101-year-old father, and I get an email from the nun saying, "Oh, he's died." Anyways, So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have some good come out of this so that people who position themselves to be the guardians of incapable adults aren't allowed to isolate and confine them as a means of retribution. My sister is very angry at me for some long-standing reasons, and she used the appointment. She used her appointment as a legal guardian as a way of battering ram. She could care less about him, and also there's going to be some money involved somehow. She's going to get some money out of this. She never does anything unless there's money in it for her. And, the Catholic Church does not support medical assistance in dying at all. And that's exactly what I think happened here, is that she ordered the medical staff to sedate my brother to death, to drug him to death. Because with after having a stroke or whatever happened to him, he didn't have the strength to fight whatever medication they gave him. And the Catholic Church does not support medical assistance in dying. And that's, as I said, that's exactly what I think happened here. I'm sure it's what happened here. He was recovering. I was watching him recover. And all of a sudden, she tells me, when I walked in the room, she said, "Say goodbye to Paul, he's dying." Truly an evil. Well, there's a place for her. The only good thing out of all this of being Catholic is that I know there's a place to go, and she's not going to be anywhere near God. So, thank you everybody for your help and support. I don't know how I would have made it through without this, especially I'm thinking about Sue Morley in Australia, all your kind words, and I know that you sent the email. I'm asking everybody to pray for us, to contribute to our GoFundMe account, and also to copy and paste the email that I put in the description box of these videos. And I know that Sue, I got an email from a government agency saying that Sue Morley had contacted them. Just keep on trying. Although the point that I wanted to make today is that although in Canada it is legal for capable adults, so people who have their mental faculties, even if they're physically disabled, they can ask to be killed by medical staff. It is not yet legal for incapable adults to be killed this way. And that's what I think happened here. Paul was found by 2 different judges and 2 different psychiatrists to be incapable, mentally incapable. So he was not in a position to ask to be killed by the doctors, and yet I'm sure that's what happened here. And that's the slippery slope of medical assistance in dying. It's all the gray area. So I want to get get his medical records and see how they doped him up at the end, because he was recovering, but not quickly enough for her. I mean, she couldn't stay and help him recuperate or care for him. He had to die. There was no other way. Anyways, take care, everybody. And as I said, pray for us. Contribute to our GoFundMe account, because the Supreme Court of Canada is not cheap. And I need a lawyer at the Supreme Court of Canada. And copy and paste the email that I'll put in the description box for this video and send it off to the political and bureaucratic decision makers who can change the law so that this never happens to another person like Paul again. I miss you, Paul. I hope you're having fun in heaven.